Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Political Vigilante. My name is Graham Elwood. We are joined by Ron Placone after just an exciting VP debate.
Wow. I got to go on the record right now. I taught public speaking in a different life. So there's always, whenever there's these debates, I have the one element where I will just kind of objectively make debate predictions, just speaking strictly objectively. And I did objectively say, I think Kamala Harris is going to beat him pretty handily. And it turns out that was giving too much credit. That was, just speaking debate standpoint, that was a pathetic performance. And people should realize Mike Pence is not a good debater. He's far from it. He has just had incredibly weak opponents. I mean, he has had Tim Kaine, who is arguably the most pathetic candidate in all of U.S. politics, which is saying a lot. I mean, that's the bottom of the crud of the barrel. And Kamala Harris, who I don't think is quite as bad as Tim Kaine, but really, wow, that was sad. I mean, that was just sad.
Mike Pence is like this, such an easily beatable dude.
Yeah, like he's,
you know what I mean?
He's an authoritarian theocrat. How can you not out-debate that guy?
It's so easy. And yet at some moment she kind of did, but really she was banking that he was going to keep interrupting her and that she could say, and he talked over his time a lot. But she was like, can I respond? And he goes, okay, respond. She goes, can I respond? And he's like, yeah, like she was hoping for more of him talking over her so she could say, I mean, he is a weirdo sexist creep for sure. But again, I guess by comparison to that train wreck of a week ago, we actually had some policy discussion and debate.
I think some's being generous. I mean, if by some you mean slightly more than none, okay, sure. we had slightly more than none. And what policy talk was it? Fracking stope. We think fracking stope too. He kept mentioning the Green New Deal like in the pejorative, like saying it like the Green New Deal is a bad thing. And Kamala Harris didn't refute it at all. She just went along with it. I mean, one of the first rules in debate you're taught is you don't let the opponent define the terms. He defined the terms and she said, gotcha. He said, Green New Deal bad, fracking good, Reaganomics good, Mitt Romney's healthcare plan a disaster, but you're going to defend it. She went right there with him. It was, it was, wow. Yeah. I have incredibly low expectations, and even I was like, really? Wow.
Well, this is the problem when you're trying to defeat a conservative with centrism. Mm-hmm. Then you're stuck there going, no, I'm against, I'm not going to ban fracking. Like then you have to just, so what you're just supporting his policy. So then there's nothing. And this is the problem where like the hard left, like if you were like, no, I'm absolutely for banning fracking because it increases earthquakes. I'm going to bring up I've done videos on this in the past. But this is like Oklahoma has had a surge of earthquakes since 2009. Are they due to fracking?
Yes.
Yes, it is. It's absolutely. This is this bar graph here. Look at this. This is California and Oklahoma. Oklahoma is in the red. California has been having earthquakes for a long time because it sits on a fault line. Oklahoma doesn't sit on fault lines, and yet it's had a spike in earthquakes since it started fracking. I've done video after video showing contaminated water in Texas, in Colorado. That's what Kamala Harris should be saying. That's what her argument should be, is fracking is absolutely bad. We need a Green New Deal. Instead, it's you let him say, the Paris Accord, none of these things where it's bad for regulation, this like Republican talking point from 30 years ago, you let him get it in there. You
go along with it. You don't refute it.
Yes.
You say, no, I'm cool with all that too. And then the other big moment where she just, it's like anyone could have refuted that better, was when he kept hammering, like basically he took over the debate, just ignored the moderator. He was like, hey, I don't listen to someone telling me my time's up if it's a woman unless it's mother. I'm not going to listen to you, moderator person. And like and then he just grabbed hold of the debate and was asking her the question. And when he was trying to hammer her on the Supreme Court thing, and she just folded, it looked incredibly weak because it was. God. What she could have done, she could have put it back on him and been like, you know what? Let's talk the Supreme Court. Let's talk about how George W. Bush, the court handed him that election in 2000. So he was an illegitimate candidate the whole time. And there were discrepancies in 2004 as well. He appointed 2 people. Donald Trump lost the popular vote in 2016. He's on his way to appointing 3 people. So that's more than half, just about, if you count, the one coming up, which they're probably going to be able to ram that through. That's more than half, because it's an odd number, that are illegitimate appointees. So it is time, Mike Pence, when the Supreme Court does not resemble public opinion at all, it is time to, A, make the Supreme Court not a political football in our politics and make it actually what it's supposed to be, which is uphold the frickin' law. And B, it's time to end lifetime appointments. And it's time for, if we are going to have a politically aimed Supreme Court, it should actually reflect the will of the frickin' people. Because less than half of it, at best, does now, between George W. and Donald Trump. And then Obama was robbed a pick that was rightfully his. If she had any spine, or just common sense, that would have been her rebuttal. I just came off of that off the top of my head. I stream a show from my living room and talk to a fucking black cat. I came up with that off the top of my head. She's the vice president nominee.
She acted like she was caught off guard. I'm like, did you honestly think there wasn't going to be a Supreme Court question tonight? You know, she just kind of quoted this thing from Abraham Lincoln. Oh man, like
she was smoking too much of Tupac's pot. She wasn't ready.
Well, the other thing, back to the fracking, which was so embarrassing, and we both commented on this. But like AOC tweets, fracking is bad, actually. And I wrote, your party is for it. And you were like, yeah, why don't you do something about it rather than tweet?
I said, tell your pathetic colleagues. Don't tell Twitter. We know. We know. We don't need the Ministry of Appeasement anymore. That's why I don't follow any politicians on Twitter. But I'm not gonna give it a like or valid. I'm gonna say, hey, tell your colleagues. Your freaking colleagues need to hear this.
There, I just unfollowed her.
You just unfollowed her. That'll show up. I'm not following any of them either. They know.
She just lost 1 follower. She's only got 7 million, 7.5 million left or whatever.
Oh, she'll feel it.
Oh,
she got the notification right now.
That's the progressive resistance within this corrupt Democratic Party is, man, they're good tweeters. Bernie's really good tweets after he just buckled. Imagine if Bernie was on that stage and we are not this stage, but like if he had picked a real VP candidate, imagine if that was Nina Turner. Imagine what that would look like.
Yeah, she would have shredded him.
She would have cut him apart.
He would have been like, well, the Green New Deal. And instead of cowering and being like, I don't want to say I'm for a Green New Deal, she would have said, you're damn right I'm for a Green New Deal. Yeah. You're not. You don't want your children and grandchildren to have a freaking planet? What, you think we can pray our way out of this, you psycho? That's what she would have done.
Yeah,
she would have been more diplomatic, but
it's the other thing too. Why she's like, oh, backing away from this is the centrist to always lose, because it's like that old quote: if you're going to vote for a Republican or a kind of a Republican, you're going to vote for the Republican. So, and this is why the hard left would so crush him, because it would be like, oh, give me a break. A Green New Deal is going to put every American to work the way FDR put the country to work with the New Deal. That's what it's going to do. You're getting money from oil lobbies and fossil fuel companies and the coal industry and all that. You could have just called them. But Kamala can't do that because she gets money. The Democratic Party gets her money. Like when the one thing she said about we're going to end private prisons. I was like, wow, are you sure? Does the DNC know this? That you just
did you take a focus group first? Because that's the only way you'll say it. Oh, and by the way, Mike Pence was able to use her record against her record as a prosecutor against her. And gee, I wonder how we could have prevented that. If only there was a primary where somebody got virtually no delegates, so there was a clue that maybe she shouldn't be given the VP spots.
I know. She didn't even make it to Iowa. And she's the VP? Like, wouldn't you pick somebody really strong in the VP slot?
When she said my home state of California, you could feel the state of California collectively sigh.
Yes.
You could feel, oh, this should be, yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess, yeah, we know. Okay. We know you're here. Thanks.
Pence is such a lunatic looking guy. He can't physically smile. I think he believes smiling is a sin like masturbation or something. And that's why he can't do it because.
Well, Graham, you put on a spiky chastity belt and we'll see how much you're smiling. All right. Those things are painful. And it goes right into his thigh.
I mean, it's just like, God, this guy's so beatable. He's so beatable. And the Trump plan is so beatable. When he goes, you want to roll back the Trump tax cuts? She's like, only on the you go, yeah, absolutely. Because your Trump tax cuts it was $1.5 trillion that you gave to billionaires. Those, yes, I absolutely want to roll those back. You don't go, no, sorry. He pushes you back on your heels and you stay back there and go, okay, no.
Yeah. Oh, and they were so easily, I mean, he was using Reaganomics. Which we all know has failed. All she had to do was just say, that's ridiculous. That tax cut only benefited the richest among the richest among us. That's what we're rolling back. Anywhere that wages have done better in this country has nothing to do with Trump's tax cuts and everything to do with living wage movements a la Samozuwant in Seattle happening across the country. So you want to talk about wages getting better a little bit on the micro level? That's why that has happened on a small scale, not because of your tax cuts. So let's talk living wages. Easy. She would have owned the debate. It's not better. Me and you can come up with this stuff. We were just watching it.
I know. You go, oh, what are you talking about? Instead of tax breaks for the billionaires like you and Trump have done, Pence, we're going to give people $15 an hour minimum wage. We're going to give people she kind of said free college in there. I was like, wow, did she go to Bernie's website? Where'd she find that? Like, no talk of Medicare for all.
No, healthcare at all didn't, other than the Affordable Care Act's bad. The Affordable Care Act's good. I mean, it's amazing that the right-wing health plan is not far right enough for the Republicans, but Democrats are still on board. I mean, wow. If
you went with a left populist progressive platform, you would crush these guys. You would crush them. She could look right into the camera and say, ladies and gentlemen, they have given tax breaks to the wealthy. They have given trillions of dollars in the CARES Act to Wall Street. And what I'm going to do, what we are going to do, what the president and I are going to do are help you out. But she really can't say that because the Democratic Party has signed off on the $4.25 trillion in the CARES Act. Like, it's all been, the Democrats are complicit in all of this. So she really can't argue, Well,
know what else was, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And when he's like, we stand by our police, she kind of said some things, but she doesn't have a leg to stand on based on her record as attorney general and district attorney. Joe Biden doesn't have a leg to stand on because of the 94 crime bill. Again, you take a hard left, you show Pence and Trump as the fascists, as the ones that support the brutalization of cops. You support them. You not support, but you shine the light on and show how you are so drastically different. She just said we're kind of different, but we agree on we're not going to get rid of fracking, and like, it's unreal. It's just
you want to talk about that moment where the police brutality was brought up and Breonna Taylor was brought up. It's amazing that the Democratic establishment will weaponize identity politics for dishonest means. Whenever they're talking about the left, they'll use it against the left all day. But if ever there was a moment to kind of bring up identity politics in a genuine way and in a right way, she should have just full stop went, I'm sorry. We're talking Breonna Taylor. Did the old right-wing white guy from Indiana just have the nerve to say there's no racism in America? And say that it hurts his feelings and it's disrespectful to imply that there's racism in this country? Well, guess what, Mikey P? there is racism in this freaking country. And if it makes you uncomfortable, do something about it as a leader instead of just passively accepting it or trying to pretend it's not there. And how dare you? How dare you tone police people that have been victims of this racist, oppressive system? If ever there was a time, because that's when, identity politics, just the concept is not bad. The way it's weaponized dishonestly is bad. So if ever there was a time to appropriately use it, that was a moment, and it didn't even cross her freaking mind. Cross her freaking mind. He said
that, I was like, okay, here she goes. She's been waiting for this all night. She's going to slam dunk on him right now and say all the things that you just said. And she didn't. I was like, because she's a prosecutor. She's a cop. She's on the sides of the cops. I mean, she ultimately, she can't sit there and say, I want to defund the police. She's not going to say that. She can't do those things. And that's again, another just gaping flaw when everyone's like, yeah, we got Kamala. It's like, you picked someone that Tulsi Gabbard took out a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
she shredded her
a year ago. And then this is what's happening. It was just like, Pence is just giving you just right across the plate, and you're just bunting. Like you should have shelled that ball.
Just swinging and missing, bunting on a good pitch. I mean, it was, and then, you know what, again, talking strictly debate standpoint here, whenever she skirted around something, which every politician in the history has done, Pence called her on it. He said, notice she didn't answer the question. He called it. When he was asked,
he skirted out.
Oh my God. When he was asked, would you ban abortion in Indiana? He started talking about the assassination of Soleimani. I mean, if ever there's, ladies and gentlemen, he was just asked, would you ban abortion? And he said, let me tell you why assassinations are dope. And it's great we took out Soleimani. Did he not hear the question? What planet is he freaking on? She didn't even say that. Like, she didn't say anything close to it. I mean, I remember, and I mean, the Democratic Party has been very weak my entire lifetime. But man, I remember when it was like Dick Cheney versus John Edwards, and again, not a fan of either, obviously. But whenever Dick Cheney would do that same thing, whenever they would ask him like a question like, hey, would you be an authoritarian lunatic in this situation? And he didn't want to just say yes, and he would skirt around it. John Edwards every single time would be like, that question was about jobs, right? And you heard what he just said. Okay. So it was subtle, but it was there. Right. Kamala Harris didn't even do that. She didn't even do that. She did nothing. She just let it go. I was like, are you present? Are you here tonight? Are you awake? Holy, like, I mean, I couldn't believe it. And I'm no Kamala Harris fan, far from it. But even I, from a debate standpoint, had higher expectations by that.
It was unbelievable. As A. Maris just said, shaving knuckles with justice. It was the battle of sober face versus snarky smirk, played by two imperialist cops. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable, man. I just couldn't. I couldn't.
They are two grossly unlikable people. Like, they are like imagine we just met the two of them at like a dinner party or something, and someone was like, guess what their jobs are. You wouldn't guess politician in like 40 guesses. You'd be like, well, I'd imagine they don't deal with the public much. I'd imagine they don't talk in front of people ever. Yeah, they're very off-putting. I don't know. Do they? I'm gonna say cop. Well, close. Another guess? Like, well, I'm gonna say gee, I don't. I mean, you would never guess politician, because it's like usually when you're that off-putting of a person, that's probably not a good career choice for you.
Well, look. So there's four people here, because the two presidential, Trump and Biden, are both in their 70s. Who the vice president is pretty critical, because especially the current president has COVID, right? There's still a pandemic going on. Trump could get this and not make it, or be not physically able. Pence could become president in the next couple of weeks if Trump, obviously if he dies, but if he just becomes so incapacitated, if he's intubated, he's hooked up to a respirator, they're going to have to swear in Pence. So that's a reality. Joe Biden is an old man who is showing cognitive decline. So if they win, there's a good chance within the next 4 years, Kamala Harris could be sworn in to be president. So
and she would get destroyed. And I mean, whoever she runs against in 2024 will slaughter her. And hopefully there's an MPP candidate.
Well, yeah, but like these 4 people. So we're really looking at 4 potential presidents here because of the age of the 2 guys, COVID, which one of them has. These 4 people from these 2 utterly corrupt parties, there's nothing exciting about any of them. They're all corporate. They're all pro-cops. They're all in favor of fracking. They're all against a Green New Deal. Like, tell me the fucking difference. Like, okay, 2 of them are like Nazis and the other ones are Republicans. It's like, it's insane to me that these are our fucking choices. Like, and to listen to dumb neoliberals, it's always stupid neoliberals that are against a third party. Oh, that'll take votes away. No, it won't take votes away. It'll take votes away from the 100 million people that don't vote. It'll actually get more people into the election process. But if you notice, by design from these 2 corrupt parties, they don't want a lot of people voting.
No, they definitely don't. And they don't want any threat to the duopoly. I mean, Republicans and Democrats are built around the duopoly existing. Let's be as horrible and pro-corporate as we possibly can be, because our alternative is just this ineffective, weak party who's happy to take the same money. Well, let's be ineffective and weak and be happy to take the same money because we're not as horrible as these other people, and we'll rely on people's amnesia every 4 to 8 to 12 years to just take a gamble on one or the other. Hey, these folks have been ineffective for a long time. I'm going to take a chance on these gruesome people. Hey, these gruesome people have been gruesome for a long time. I'm going to take a chance on these ineffective people. Maybe they've changed. Turns out neither one's changed. And that's what they don't tell us about. They tell you it takes a Republican wing and a Democrat wing for the American eagle to fly. What they don't tell you is that that eagle shits on everybody's head. And that's what it flies for. That's the part they don't tell you.
It's unbelievable. 500 people watching, 186 likes. Get the likes up there, folks. There's 500 of you watching. Make sure everybody hits the like button right now. It's simple. It's easy. You do it right now. Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, we watched the debate, so you didn't have to.
Oh, Jesus.
We just watched that thing. It was really, I mean, it was more boring than the presidential debate, too. I mean, it was incredibly boring. I mean, I was watching that thing, and I'm like, well, we don't have a cure for COVID yet, but we sure as hell have a cure for insomnia. I mean, we got that figured out. Just put on this thing.
I just can't. This is what centrism does. It allows Mike Pence to score wins.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, yeah. Kamala's at the big, has some of the wins at the top where she's just like 210,000 people are dead. That's a hard thing for Pence and Trump to kind of get around. Like, that's a big number. And
then they both backed away from the coronavirus, which, I mean, you're right. She was making some leeway there. And then they both, and I remember in the post, it was Chuck Todd of all, which, I mean, if Chuck Todd makes an observation, holy shit. Right. But even Chuck Todd was saying, well, yeah, they're backing away. They backed away from coronavirus. They kind of didn't want to go there. He was objectively right. He's right. They didn't. We know why Pence didn't, because so many people are dead, and it's been. Why the hell didn't Kamala want to hammer it home? Why didn't she just grab that take the reins and hammer it home and beat him to a pulp on the coronavirus issue? Why didn't she do that? I mean,
because
what was so bad? It's almost like, I mean, I don't think you could have done that poorly unless you were. The only way you could have done worse than her is if you were trying to lose on purpose. That is the only way you could have done worse than her. And I'm not embellishing, nor am I trying to even be funny right now. Unless you were deliberately trying to lose that debate. That's the only way you could have done worse than Kamala Harris.
I was literally going in tonight. I'm like, she's going to clean up. She's going to wipe.
I thought so too.
I go, there's a lot about her I don't like. I've made videos about it for sure. But I'm like, when it comes to debating, she's going to win. And I don't like Pence at all. And she's got so much ammunition, and she just kind of let him. Because one of the things is, and this is why the Democratic Party is so beatable. You can fault Trump and Pence for all their handling of the pandemic, but at some point, Pence could go, well, you guys just didn't agree to a stimulus package because you don't want to take care of the American people. That just happened. The Democrats just walked away from a deal. that would give people stimulus money. And
they walked away from the deal, and they didn't call Trump's bluff either.
I know. What
you do is if they actually cared, they would put something on his desk where it's like, okay, sign it, buddy. We're gonna have monthly payments going back to March. It's proactive or retroactive, excuse me. I mean, that's what they would do. But in reality, here's what you're choosing between, America. There's one party that hates you so much they would risk losing the White House if it means they don't have to help you. And you have another party that hates you so much, they're willing to try to make the other side look bad so their corpse of a candidate can be dragged across the finish line, maybe. Aren't you inspired? Those are your choices. That's our political system.
Oh,